Hello everyone, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Welcome to this 2019 MLB Playoff Preview and Predictions edition of Betting for the Cycle. With the 2019 regular season in the books, it's time to look ahead to the postseason and the 2019 World Series. The field is narrowed down to just 10 teams, 5 from the National League, 5 from the American League, but only 2 will win pennants, and only 1 can become a World Series champion. In this video, we'll be giving you our individual picks for every series of every round for the 2019 MLB Playoffs, essentially filling out brackets to help you with your own brackets and betting picks. We'll also recap each of our 2019 betting seasons at the end of the video. Make sure to let us know your playoff picks for each round in the comments down below. As always, for this series, I'm joined by Taylor Smith and Jim Beviglia. Let's begin by looking at the wildcard games for both leagues. In the NL, the Washington Nationals will host the Milwaukee Brewers on Tuesday, while in the American League, we've got the Oakland Athletics as the home team against the Tampa Bay Rays. That game coming up on Wednesday. Taylor, which teams will advance in these best-of-1 matchups?
I like Washington in the NL. I've been pretty vocal about my adoration for them over the last couple of weeks. I just can't go against Scherzer. Pitching at home. I know Brandon Woodruff's a good pitcher on the other side, but he hasn't thrown more than 40 pitches in his 2 games since coming off the IL. This is kind of shaping up to be another bullpen game for the Brewers. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Scherzer backed up by maybe Steven Strasburg or Patrick Corbin potentially in short outings, since their bullpen is absolutely horrible. So I'll take Washington there. In the American League, I haven't seen a starter for Oakland as of this recording, but Charlie Morton is scheduled for Tampa Bay. Morton's held right-handed hitters to a 247 WOBA with 4 home runs all season. The A's are a right-handed heavy lineup. He's pretty much going to have the platoon advantage against everybody except for Matt Olson. Oakland also doesn't have Lou Trevino or Blake Trinan in the bullpen right now. I think that's a huge deal. I just think Tampa Bay matches up pretty well here. I feel like I might be going out on a limb a little bit by picking a road team, but I'll go with Tampa Bay.
Jim?
Well, I'm out on that limb with him. I'm the same way with Tampa Bay over Oakland. You mentioned Charlie Morton. My guess is the A's go with Sean Manaea for how good he's been over the last month or so. But Taylor mentioned the advantage that Morton will have against a predominantly right-handed hitting Oakland lineup. And for whatever reason, the A's, as appreciative as I am, I'm a big Moneyball guy. I love what they've kind of done to the game. But for whatever reason, when it gets to the small sample size, it seems like it works against them. They just can't get over that hump. And it feels like that's the way it's going to go again this year. Tampa Bay's been a great story. So I think they went on the road. And I'm with Taylor as well. I just don't know how you could pick against Max Scherzer for the Nats. Even though his postseason record isn't all that great when you look at it, I think he's 4-5. His ERA is just kind of fair to middling. But the Brewers, definitely a bullpen game, and their bullpen is not as daunting as it was last year. So that's a big difference. The Nats have been hitting the ball real well over the past really 2-3 months. So I'm with Taylor. I'm going Nats, and I'm going Tampa.
I'm also going to be taking Washington in the National League. It would be a great pitching matchup with Brandon Woodruff taking on Max Scherzer, but Woodruff has been severely limited on his pitch count since returning from an injury. So it looks like he's simply going to try to get through the order maybe once before handing the ball off to the bullpen. And while that's worked in his 2 starts since coming back from the injured list, I'm going to go with Scherzer and the Nats here. He can go very deep into the game. Fantastic pitcher. Have to go Washington in the National League. In the American League, Charlie Morton is going for the Rays. The A's have not announced their starter as of this recording. Couldn't find it either. It seems to be likely it will be Sean Manaea or Mike Fiers is another possible option. Neither team had a great series to end the regular season. Oakland dropped 2-4 to Seattle. Tampa lost back-to-back against Toronto to close out the year. Athletics offense scored about 75 more runs during the season than Tampa Bay. I get the righty versus pitching matchup for this series, but the game is being played in the beautiful Oakland Coliseum. I'm going to go with the A's here. I think that Oakland might be able to sneak by. We don't know who their starter is, and I get the pitching matchup, but I'm going to go with Oakland. I think that they might be just ever so slightly the better team, and playing at home, as awful as that stadium might be, is still an advantage. So now that our division series brackets are set, let's get down to it. We start in the National League. The winner of the NL wildcard gets the pleasure of facing the Los Angeles Dodgers in the NLDS, while the NL East winning Atlanta Braves take on the NL Central winning St. Louis Cardinals. So, Jim, which teams make it to the NLCS?
At the Nationals, that's no easy thing with those three starting pitchers that Washington can throw out there. They've got Strasburg, they've got Corbin, they'll have Scherzer, probably even with the wild card game for 2 starts. Well, probably not 2 starts, but probably a start and maybe a bullpen appearance. That said, I mean, the Dodgers are so deep. They can throw so many kind of different platoons at you with their lineup. They don't strike out, which is a big thing in the playoffs, as far as power hitting teams. And then they have the 3 starting pitchers that you could argue really matches up with them. I think Washington, probably steals a game or 2, but I'm going to go with the Dodgers there. As far as the other series, this was tough because Jack Flaherty really scares me. If I were a Braves fan, I'd be really concerned about that. He most likely will get 2 starts, and he's been unhittable. That said, I don't know that the other Cardinal pitchers have the firepower to really handle the Braves lineup, and the Cardinals bullpen is still shaky. I think the Braves had their playoff experience last year, kind of got it out of the way, and now they come back stronger. Their pitching has been better lately. So I'm going to go with the chalk here, and I'm going to go with Atlanta and Los Angeles to make it to the NLCS.
Taylor, how does your NLDS bracket play out?
Mine's the same way. We've been picking the Dodgers all year. I can't go against that now that the playoffs are actually beginning. I do think they just have too much depth in the lineup, on the bench, in the bullpen, pitching staff as a whole. Washington is a more formidable opponent than the typical wild card team is, I think, if they do advance. But I just can't really see the Dodgers losing at this point, at least in the first round. And I'll take Atlanta. I am a little bit nervous about Ronald Acuna dealing with, I think, a hip problem that kept him out over the weekend. I think that's kind of an underrated concern heading into this series. But as a whole, Atlanta's just been the better team all season. I think their lineup is better, assuming Acuna is back in there. So Dallas Keuchel being in the rotation is helpful. That's a playoff experienced arm there. Mike Soroka's been good as a rookie. We'll see how that translates to the playoffs. But Jack Flaherty concerns aside, I think I'll side with Jim here.
Neither the Braves nor the Cardinals had a fantastic final week of the regular season. I don't know what it is with this year's playoff teams and just having a terrible final week, but here's 2 more. Only St. Louis needed to actually do anything to clinch their division title. The Braves were in the position they were going to be in for quite some time entering the final few days. These teams played 6 times during the season, all back in May. The Braves won 2 out of 3 in Atlanta and 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. Braves were the team I thought provided betting value to win the NL pennant during the season. I'm sticking with them against the always frightening Cardinals, especially as someone who grew up a Mets fan. Seeing the Cardinals making the playoffs, always a little bit intimidating when it comes to that. As for the other series, part of me wants to predict chaos and have the Nationals knock out the Los Angeles Dodgers because there is some of that pitching at the top end of the Washington rotation. But I just can't do it. LA won 4 out of the 7 meetings this season. I think having to burn Max Scherzer in the wildcard game damages Washington's hopes to actually get through to the NLCS. If they had won the division, maybe. If they were coming in fully rested, it could start with the top of their rotation. Might be able to go with them. Might be able to maybe throw a couple bucks on there as a flyer, but you can't do it now. The Dodgers are going to meet the Braves in the league championship series. In the American League, the Houston Astros and New York Yankees battled for home field advantage right down to the wire, with Houston coming away with it. That means the Astros will host the AL wildcard game winner in the ALDS, while the Yankees take on the AL Central winning Minnesota Twins. I'm going first with my ALDS picks. I'm going to start with Houston. Random fact, the Houston Astros are the only team to win a World Series since 2012 that made the playoffs this year. They're one of only 3 to make the playoffs that has won a World Series since the turn of the century. Cardinals won in 2006 and 2011. The Yankees won in 2009. 2000 is technically part of the previous century, but that would still be the Yankees anyway. On to this year. The Astros have lost 6 out of 8 against Oakland since the trade deadline passed, but Houston had won 9 out of the 11 games played prior to the deadline. Astros are the best team in baseball when it comes to win-loss record, and when it comes to the eyeball test as well. 2 Cy Young Award candidates in Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander, plus a guy named Zach Greinke and Wade Miley also in the rotation. Houston's going very far in this postseason. They're not stopping with their first series. On the other side, the New York Yankees have gotten healthier as the season has come to an end, at least healthy enough, in my opinion, to get through Minnesota in the ALDS. They're the 2 highest scoring offensive teams in Major League Baseball this year. New York scoring 4 more runs than Minnesota over the course of 162. Minnesota has won 8 of their last 10, and while I'd like to go against the favorites making to the league championship series on both sides of the bracket to make it a more bold prediction, because as of right now, I've played favorite. I'm going favorite again. I really do think the Astros and Yankees are 2 of the 4 best teams in baseball, if not maybe even the 2 best teams in baseball. And I don't think either team matches up overly badly in their respective series. So I'm going to take New York to meet Houston in the ALCS. Taylor, which teams do you think make it to the championship series?
As an Astros fan, I am a little bit scared of Oakland/Tampa Bay in that first round just because they do have, they've been doing it all year long. These teams have won like 96-plus games, I think both of them. So, it's not your normal wild card that's like, an 85-win team. These are legitimate contending teams that are really good. So it's a little bit frightening, but the pitching rotation, I think it's a huge advantage. And I think the fact that it's a 5-game series helps. The Astros don't have to, have Jose Urquidy out there or the horrible Wade Miley in a game 4. They can just cycle it back with, one of their Cy Young winners. So I think they'll win the first round series regardless of who they play. And I have to take the Yankees as well. It feels like they've been on kind of a collision course with the Astros all year. That offense is just insane, even if they do have a little bit of injury problems still. Luis Severino being back is a huge thing. I don't trust Minnesota's pitching. I don't trust Jake Odorizzi or Jose Barrios necessarily to shut down that lineup. It should be a fun series with plenty of power, I would think, just based on, these 2 teams being like the 2 best home run hitting teams of all time. But I just can't go against the Yankees, especially with home field advantage. So New York and Houston for me as well.
Jim?
Well, I'm going to go away from the chalk in one of them here. I'm not going away from the Astros. That's not going to happen. You guys mentioned it all. We talk about the pitching staff, and then that lineup is just ridiculous. They may not have scored the most runs, but I'd take that lineup in the playoffs over anybody else. But, the Yankees, you mentioned the injuries. They kind of have guys coming in, guys coming out. You do that in the regular season. In the playoffs, you have to be on top of your game. Sanchez is just back. Stanton is just back. Now, Encarnacion, they don't know. Urshela left the game over the weekend. There are a lot of moving parts there. I think these games are slugfest. I'm not crazy about the Twins pitching either, but I'm not crazy about the Yankees starting pitching. I don't think any of those guys dominate. I think Jose Barrios maybe steps up. He had that nightmare game against the Yankees 2 years ago in the wild card game, and maybe he steps up and gives the Twins 2 starts. I'm going to go for an upset here. I'm going to take the Twins to knock off the Yankees and pull off the stunner.
All right, well, that means it is time to play for the pennant. NLDS winners facing off on one side, the ALDS winners on the other. Now, during the course of the season, we all ended up making the Houston Astros our American League champion betting pick. You each went with the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League. I ended up going for a value play in the Atlanta Braves, who I think I got at plus 420 when the season ended. Jim, now getting to take a fresh look at it, based off of how your bracket is played out, which teams do you think are making it to the World Series?
Well, I still feel confident about the Astros for all the reasons above. Where the Twins might get by in a shorter 5-game series against the Yankees. That's one thing. But then you go to the championship series where it's 7 games. Their pitching's going to get stretched too thin there if they do get through. And Houston has, like we said, the pitching, the lineup, everything. National League, I think it's going to be a closer series. Like I said, I think the Braves, having had that experience. That said, the Braves pitching, it's one thing to get by St. Louis with their pitching. It's another thing to get by the Dodgers lineup with their pitching. That concerns me. Taylor mentioned Ronald Acuna, not just the hip problem, but the fact that he's really slumped of late. So if he's not quite on the top of his game, that is a big chunk of the Braves' firepower there. So, even though I had the upset with the Twins, I'm not deviating from the favorites here. I'm going Astros and Dodgers for the World Series.
Taylor.
Yeah. I said the Astros and the Yankees have felt like they're on a collision course. I've also kind of felt that about the Dodgers and Astros. I think we get a rematch of 2017 again. Houston, I think, just has too much firepower on both sides. I think the staff speaks for itself. You could have, legitimate co-Cy Young caliber winning pitchers here, and then a third that has won a Cy Young in the past. So, I don't really think I'm going out on a limb there to pick Houston. The Braves have some concerns, I think, at the back end of the bullpen. And like I said, Soroka being a rookie, you never know how a guy's going to deal with playoff expectations and the pressure like that for the first time. He's obviously a huge part of what they've been able to do. The lineup is great. The Acuna concerns are real. I just think the Dodgers have been the best team in the NL for the last handful of years. They have given me no reason to think otherwise again this season. So once again, Houston and LA again.
Houston Astros have the best rotation in Major League Baseball, especially when you shorten it for the playoffs. New York Yankees may have the league's best offense, but it's not much more than an eighth of a run per game better than Houston's. That Astros pitching, meanwhile, is a game changer. Even if New York can beat Cole and Verlander twice in 4 combined starts, they'd have to beat Zach Greinke and Taylor's favorite, Wade Miley, in 2 out of 3. They might beat Miley. I don't see them beating Greinke too if they're going to beat Cole and Verlander. I don't see it happening. It's got to be the Astros winning, probably in 6, maybe in 7 if the Yankees can beat Cole or Verlander the first time through. Dodgers are the National League's top team. They entered the postseason having won 8 of their last 10. Their 613 runs against this season was the fewest in the majors by 27 runs over Houston. Hard to go against LA, but I'm going to make the case for the Braves. They were a team that I picked as a value option during the season, so I'm going to make this case here. The names in the rotation may not be as standout as the Dodgers, but there's plenty of talent. Mike Soroka has a whip this season of just 1.11. Braves have lost just 1 of Mike Foltynavich's starts since June 7th. Max Fried hit a bump in September, but finished the season with a better than a 1 strikeout per inning rate and a win-loss record of 17-6. Dallas Keuchel may not have been the stud pitcher this year that he was with Houston in years past, but he's got that playoff experience. And he did recently have a 5-start winning streak snap where actually Atlanta won 6 straight games that he started. He got the decision in 5 of them. Oh, and the Braves took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers just a month ago. When the Dodgers swept the Braves the first time they met this season, Atlanta had a losing record, and the division leaders in the NL were Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and the Cubs, 2 of which obviously missed the playoffs. I still like Atlanta as a potential value play here, so give me the Braves and the Astros in the World Series in 2019. Championship time, guys. 2019 World Series. 2 teams, a best-of-7 series, and the team with the better regular season record gets home field advantage. So here's what we're going. For all of us, that is the Houston Astros. Taylor, we're starting with you. Who wins the 2019 World Series?
I'm just going to be a homer here, but I think it's legitimate. The Astros were 60-21 at home this season. That's the best record since the 98 Yankees, which is one of the most dominant teams of all time. They scored 489 runs in 81 home games, which is over 6 per game. They had 4 hitters with OPS over 900 and Michael Brantley just under that at home. I think that's a huge deal. We saw in 2017, they won all 4 of their home games in the ALCS. So having home field in every series is a huge, boon for them. So I'll take Houston. I think they just have the better team overall than the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are starting to look like the Buffalo Bills a little bit.
Jim, what's your pick?
I hate to do this to Taylor, but I'm going to jinx the Astros, and I'm going to pick them as well. We talk about all the stats and the numbers. I feel like there's an eye test here. You go beyond maybe Cody Bellinger. Is there kind of a transcendent guy on the Dodgers? Maybe Walker Buehler. You could make that argument right now in their career. You look at the Astros. You have Springer. You have Altuve. You have Correa coming back. You have Alvarez, who's just been ridiculous. Bregman, 3 starting pitchers. There's just so much there. And I think at some point, that's just going to outweigh what the Dodgers have. Dave Roberts does an amazing job kind of mixing and matching, but just the pure talent of the Astros seems like too much. I think Houston wins it all.
This is where my pick comes back down to earth a little bit. Houston holding home field advantage over every other team in baseball. The Astros posting a 60-21 record at Minute Maid Park this year. I don't think there's any other conclusion for me to reach with this pick. Even if it were the Dodgers on the other side, Cardinals, Brewers, doesn't matter. I'd still be picking the Astros to win the World Series. Houston may have one of the best rotations in Major League history right now, with Cole and Verlander being just the second pair of teammates in modern Major League history to record 300 strikeouts apiece in a single season. Offensively, Jim got into it. Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, George Springer, Yordan Alvarez, others in that lineup. The Astros lineup is as scary as they come. Houston's my pick to win the 2019 World Series to give the Astros their 2nd championship in the last 3 years. And that is the first round where all 3 of us were unanimous in our picks as far as who is advancing. So we've all got Houston winning the World Series, even if we all have them getting there a little bit differently. So now that the brackets are done, we've got some housekeeping to take care of. Over the course of 18 weeks of our Betting for the Cycle show, we made a total of 76 betting picks apiece. We made 4 picks each week, 8 picks for our MLB trade deadline special, and each of us were correct over 50% of the time. Jim and I each successfully bet for the cycle once, with Jim pulling off the feet first. Jim and Taylor, you each recorded a golden sombrero week this season, doing it back-to-back weeks last month with Taylor pulling that feat off first. Congratulations, I guess, on that. Statistically, I led the group in singles with 11. Jim and I tied for the lead in doubles with 13. Taylor just dominated all of us in triples with 12. And Taylor and I ended up tied for the title of 2019 Home Run King with 13 correct home run picks apiece. Overall leader in extra base hits, by the way, was me with 34. You each finished with 33, so that was really close. When it comes to betting averages, I was the league leader with a final betting average of 592. Betting conference weighted average, which is essentially a percentage of total bases, that batting title goes to me as well. Hit 595. So I was a Giants win or Cardinals loss on Sunday away from a 600 average across the board on everything. Cannot believe the Giants lost 4 straight starts by Madison Bumgarner to close out the year, and I ended up losing that long-term one. Been a fun season, though. Any final thoughts you guys want to provide?
Should be fun. We're doing a basketball show, I think. Should be starting soon. We'll be back. Still doing a college football show for a while here. So it's been good. I promise next season I will get a cycle at some point. That's going to happen. I refuse to take this title of not having a cycle for too long. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I want to thank Drew and Taylor. And like you said, we have the ongoing shows. And, it's been fun. We kind of play it up as a competition. But, these are 2 great guys I'm working with. So, when they win, we all kind of win, it feels like. So it's been a blast. And looking forward to the postseason. It should be kind of a thrill ride throughout the postseason. Even though we all like the Astros, I think it's going to be close in a lot of areas. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, still a lot of great baseball to watch. Check out gamblingsites.org for some great articles from all 3 of us. We appreciate you watching this season. We're going to see you for more. We got basketball coming up, like Taylor said. We're doing college football every single week. Good week for me with this weekend. I just got a scholarship this weekend with my 5 for 5 picks. So Jim's catching up on that one. He's going to get that at some point too. But yeah, it's been a great year. And not just because I got 2 trophies out of it at the end of the day. So I'm happy with that too. But that is going to do it for this final 2019 edition of Betting for the Cycle. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Odds On Favorites YouTube channel. And let us know who you think will win the 2019 World Series down in the comments below. For Jim Beviglia and Taylor Smith, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.